ahead. Hey everyone, my name's Joe. Just show of hands, were you here when I spoke before? How many of you are, and hands down, and how many have never seen me before? Okay, and hands down, and then hands up if this is the first time you're seeing me. I was just making sure it's the same people. My name's Joe. It's a pleasure to be back with all of you today. I know many of you say, well, this guy, he's a magician. That's interesting, but I mean, card tricks and all of that stuff, what does that have to do with how we're trying to make a living in Cobb County? I mean, really, I'm not going to do any card tricks. I'm not going to do any rope magic. I'm not going to get cut in half, or there might be some people I wish I could do that to, but I'm not going to do it myself. So what are we going to listen to a magician talk about? So I would like to share with you, after 22 years of being a full-time, self-employed solopreneur, I've stumbled through a couple of decades of making a living doing this. Some years have been pretty good. Some years have been really challenging. But I'm going to share with you today what I think are 3 core magical keys to taking a more prominent role in your marketplace. I will say that in the 22 years I've been doing this full time, I think it's very likely that if you go anywhere in Metro Atlanta, and probably North Georgia, and you talk about my industry, my name will come up. Now, there's a lot fewer of me than there are of every real estate, banker, roofer, but I think the principles are the same. I've had people move here from other markets, Vegas, New York, Chicago, who when they got here, they would try to go out and introduce themselves to people. They would call me up and say, Joe, you own the place. Well, I don't. I mean, there's a lot of work that I don't get. There's plenty of it. But I've put a lot of effort over 22 years into trying to be seen and recognized and people to be aware of me in my marketplace. I'm going to share with you some of the things that I think I may have done pretty well. I'm going to share with you a couple of the things that I think I screwed up and need to do better even now. And we'll take it from there. So, and also there'll be some magic tricks for crying out loud. So yeah, that's what they say. Are you going to do some magic tricks? Yeah, so I'd like everyone in the room to think of a 2-digit number. A 2-digit number. I'm going to ask 4 of you to say your number out loud. And if someone happens to say a number that is close to the number you're thinking of, I just ask you to switch to a number a little further away. So we sort of spread out the numbers across the range. Does that make sense? All right, so think of your number. And it'll be a little mental warm-up for me. We'll see if I can do it. Kathy, what's your 2-digit number? 22. Is there a reason that you said 22? Just random? That's very good. Elizabeth, chocolate, bless your heart. Thank you for coming. What was your 2-digit number? 13. I like it. I like it. 13, Mockingbird. Something like that, one of the places. So 22, 13. How about Justin? What's your 2-digit?
11.
It's a little close to 13, so I'm going to ask that we spread it around a little. 33. All right. 33, and then let's go to the back. Woman, arms crossed in defensive posture so that she doesn't get called on. What's your name?
Christian.
Christian, what's your number?
67.
Went high on that one. I like it. I'm taking that as a vote of confidence. If you have your calculator, feel free to take it out. 67 and 33 is 100, so altogether this should be 135, if I'm not mistaken. Is that correct, math people? Accountants? So while you've got your phone out, go to your stopwatch or your timer. I'm going to ask someone to give me, let's say, 60 seconds to try to fill this in a mildly entertaining way. I'm not making big promises, it is math. But we'll see if I can do something with this that's mildly entertaining in less than 60 seconds. Justin, you're going to give me on your mark and set, go.
All right. Ready? Yep. Okay, mark, get set, go.
Okay. Stop. How many seconds was that?
20.91.
20, let's say 21 seconds.
21 seconds.
So that's pretty good, 21 seconds. It does mean, in my attempt to impress all of you, I rushed through this. You saw I was getting a little, you probably saw me getting a little nervous. And so I do, let's just put it this way. The good news is I came in under budget. So that's good. But I do reserve the right to go back to the other 39 seconds in case I need to revise something. All right, so let's just take a look. Calculators at the ready. Let's look at the top row. 22 and 32 is 54. 54 and 66 is 120. And 15 is 135. Is that correct? So the first row adds to 135. Second row, 68 and 13 is 70, 81, 85, 95, 105, and 30 is 135. Pretty good. Third row, 14 and 65 is 79, 82, 92, 102, 112, 122, 32, and 135. And the last row, 31 and 25 is 56, 57, 58, 68, 75, and 60 is 135. All four rows in 21 seconds. Getting the brain warmed up for you folks today. But I do think you might take a look at the first column. 22 and 68 is 80, 90, and 135. First row, that's still 130. First column, that's still 135. 32, 13, 65, and 25, that's to 135. 66 and 24 is 80, 90, 135. And the fourth column, 50, 45, 135. All four rows and all four columns add up to 135. Just 21 seconds. Oh. I know what you're thinking. Well, I mean, we'll see. Maybe I do. I'm not really a magician. But I want you to begin. We already know this diagonal adds to 135, but if you look at the other diagonal, that also adds to 135. If you look at the first quadrant, 66, 15, 24, and 30 add to 135. The second quadrant, third quadrant, and fourth quadrant. All four rows, all four columns, both diagonals. Oh, yes, also the center quadrant also adds to 135. Randy, if you look at the opposite pairs in the middle, those two and those two add to 135. Those two and those two add to 135. Those two and those two, those two and those two. In fact, the four corners of the whole darn thing add to 135. We did it in 21 seconds. Fantastic. This is pretty awesome. Now, I'm seeing it in your eyes. I know what most of you are thinking. The guys are thinking, that's pretty cool that he can do that. I mean, he's obviously a nerd, but he can do that. And the ladies are thinking, he really didn't date in high school, did he? Poor guy. And you can both be right, that's okay. The reason I shared this with you, part of it was to clear my head. But part of it was to point out that in this entire exercise, it doesn't matter which way you look at it, you're going to get to 135. If you look at it vertically, horizontally, diagonally, by quadrants, by opposite pairs, there's even more than I showed you, but just in the interest of time. The reason I share that with you is because I think one of the keys to my business has been to find 135. Not the number itself, but the concept of a clear goal, a clear focus on who I think I am and what I think I'm doing for people. That no matter what direction I come at it from, no matter whether I'm coming at it from my business processes or my branding or or the types of engagements that I'm seeking, whatever it is, it's clear to me and to the people that I'm trying to serve what my 135 is, who I am, what I'm doing. So in Magic, we talk about, clarifying your character. This is just in theater. Understand your character. Why are they there? Where did they come from? What are their motivations? All of that stuff if you're an actor. I would say for us, that translates, these are clarifying for ourselves, our mission, vision, and purpose. You've probably spent some time maybe in a terrible workshop exercise with other people trying to figure that out, and it can be painful and it feels like you're not getting anywhere, but it's certainly worth spending some time, even if you're just one person sitting in an office in a house in Paulding County, thinking about, well, what exactly do I mean when I say, well, I'm a magician, or I'm a speaker, or I'm a corporate entertainer? All of those things mean something a little bit different. They aren't exactly the same. Finding your lane, and also clarifying all of those things, not just for yourself, but for the public you serve. We call that not just clarifying our character, but also the content and the context of what it is that we're taking to the marketplace. So for yourself, it's your character, your mission, vision, purpose, and values. For your marketplace, you're talking about your differentiation, your USP, and what I like to think of it is, what part of their brain do I want to own? When they think of speakers for luncheons, do I want to own that? I don't necessarily want to own it. I want to be there. But if they think of magic, I want to own that. That's like one of the key pieces for me. And I can tell when it's working because people want to talk to me when they see other magicians. When they see something on TV, on Got Talent, or one of these, they want to share the clip with me. They want to ask me about it. So what that means is even when they're watching other people perform, I'm there. That's a good place to be. That's a very strong place to be if you want to be center stage in your market. So I think about that as what is the part of their brain? What part of their mind do I want to own? I could talk about that, all of that we've just discussed, for probably another 30 minutes. I have a lot more that I derive out of this for other kinds of programs, but we will save it for another time. This is a great illustration, and I'm glad I got to show it to you today. My second point of 3 that I'd like to share with you today, I feel like a preacher because all my points start with the same letter. It's like the formula, I guess. But then I was recently in England and picked up this book called The Return of Tomorrow, which the title spoke to me because I'll explain why in point 3. But for right now, I just need someone who, if they need reading glasses, already has them with them. Like me, I have to switch from readers to actual glasses. How about Randa? Randa, you don't have to come up. You don't have to come up. Just relax. We're all friends here. Do you need readers? If you need to grab them, take them. Otherwise, I've just got a book, and this is pretty big print for you. I'm commenting on myself, not her. So just like you to open the book, you can see it's a book, some random thriller story. Just pick any page. Pick any page. While she does that, I'm going to point out that there's different kinds of magic, right? There's sleight of hand, which you'll see some later, or if you've seen me perform in one of the shows I produced, and you've seen me do sleight of hand. There's this mental stuff like super calculation. That's really more of a warm-up for me, but this is a mentalism piece. I'm going to try to get inside your head. I'll be honest with you, I don't believe in mind reading, Miranda. I don't believe it. I've been married 28 years. Can't be done. I've tried every way I can think of. She remains a mystery. But I do believe in strong theater. And I think mentalism is a very strong theatrical premise. The idea of getting in someone's head, knowing what they're thinking in some way, is a very strong premise because this is the last bastion of privacy in modern culture. Right? What you're thinking. People, you know they're reading your emails. You know they can listen to your phone calls. You know that people know where you are at all times, and the ads that you consume are based on the things you talked about at your dining room. So we all know that stuff is happening. But what you're thinking, that's like the last safe piece of privacy that we have. If someone even makes it like they could toy around with that at all. That's a pretty strong piece of theater. Have you just picked a nice random word out of that book? And make it a long word, not like car or carpet or mic, but like microphone. Or you've got a nice long word, something you know what it means, you can picture how it would look in your head, or you could spell it if you had to, right? You've got to just close the book. And you saw that there's hundreds of words all around, but you just zeroed in on one specific one, right? Don't show anybody else, don't show anybody else, it's okay. I want it to just be you. I'll get confused with Blue. She already gave me that chocolate. And speaking of my wife, that's going to be my gift to her, is that chocolate. Brandon, think of the word, think about what it means, think about what it would look like if it was projected in large capital letters on a white screen in a movie theater, and just in your mind, silently spell it to yourself. From the first letter, just go over all the letters until you get to the end. And as you get to the end, focus up. I saw an R there at the end of your word. Is there an R at the end? Last letter, R. Is the last letter R? The last letter is R. And just let your mind just drop somewhere in the middle of your word on a random letter. And I just saw a couple of letters. You were debating maybe. I want to say one of them was an M. For some reason, you're pushing. Did you think about the M and move? Was the last letter really an R? Are you fooling with me? So it's not an R. It is an R. Okay. Well, think about the first letter. It's a nice long word, not a tiny word. I feel like it's multiple syllables. I'm seeing all straight lines for the first letter. I feel like there's a T. Is the letter T your first letter? What was your word, if you don't mind? Headquarters? So the last letter is an S, I see. Okay. That's okay. That's all right. No. I was trying to get it. So the last letter was an S, and the first letter was all straight lines. Let's try again. Let me ask someone to pick a word, but not the word headquarters, so we know for sure. No, that's okay. That's okay. How about, let's go to credit union. What's your name? Chandler. Open the book randomly. Pick a word, a nice long word, not the word headquarters, and close the book. Let me just see if I can get in with you. Now, I'll be honest with you, I felt like I was doing so well with Randa on some of the shapes of the letters, but I'm feeling like you've also got I feel like you've chosen also, you're picturing the whole word. You've also got a word that has an R at the end, but not the very end. I'm only seeing the next to last letter for you. I thought it would be easier. What is your last letter, if you don't mind? D. I didn't get that at all. Think of your first letter. Don't say it out loud. And I feel like I'm still getting something from Randa. She's thinking about this. I think her last letter is the same as your first letter. You're thinking of an S. You're thinking of a large curve. I see the snaky shape of an S coming into focus. Think of your whole word. Don't say it out loud. I also see a T, so that makes it easy. That's one of the easiest letters. Compound word. That's what I was saying, is you've chosen a word that can also be thought of as two words. And I think I know that was why I was getting a T instead of a D. In a loud voice, what was the word you were thinking of?
Straightforward.
Straightforward. So in other words, not like this trick. I told you I don't really believe in mind reading, but I do believe in strong theater, so I wrote the word straightforward right here. All right, so I'm going to talk a little bit quickly about why I did that, and I'm watching my time, so wave at me when I've got about 5 minutes left. First thing is clarity, clarifying who you are, what you're doing, the people you're trying to reach. The second thing, you've already heard it mentioned, Justin was talking about it earlier, all of your leaders will talk about this over time, and that is connect. The reason I own my marketplace, or have a very prominent place on stage in my marketplace, is because of two kinds of connection. One is the ongoing, persistent, consistent networking that I've done at pretty much every chamber, every business association, not in Cobb County, but across the entire metro area. I drive to Swanee to go to the Swanee Business Association. I'll go to the Metro Atlanta Chamber events. I'll go to Gwinnett. I've been a member of the Gwinnett Chamber, the Metro Atlanta Chamber, the Cobb Chamber. I've been in everything. I don't maintain all of those memberships all year, every year for 20 years. But I make a point to go in and be seen, participating, contributing, speaking, volunteering, building relationships with people, not just nearby, but all over. It's different from my business because it takes almost the entire metro to make enough businesses to say what I do, because everybody in the neighborhood doesn't need me like everybody in the neighborhood needs appliance repair, or roof, or legal representation. But so anyway, that's been very good as the networking. And then this is something I need to do better, and I'm learning from some people in WCBA and MBA about how to do this better, is communicating with my clients more efficiently, consistently, regularly. Social media is critical, but it's not, it's necessary but not sufficient. It's necessary but not sufficient. So I'm just going to ask you, if you think about the way that you communicate with prospects and the way that you communicate with existing clients, does your networking and your client communication, do those processes feed into each other? When you connect with someone on LinkedIn, do they feed into your email marketing? Or when you meet someone networking, do they feed into your social media? Have you got a consistent way of connecting the way that you communicate with all the different parts of people in your marketplace? If not, I would highly recommend that. That process has been important for my business over 22 years. Finally, the last point I would like to talk about is, you've all seen a t-shirt, keep calm and carry on. You know what I'm talking about? Keep calm and carry on. It's not about carry on. Just to keep it with the scene, just carry on. We talked about consistency and how hard it is to get my lazy butt out of a chair and get in the car and go to another stinking after hours. I mean that with all respect. But there's nothing you can, am I really going to pay 5 or 15 or 25 and go have a beer? Yes, Joe, you are. But the reason you're going to do that is because your job is not just doing magic. Your job is getting hired to do magic. My job is not the trick. My job is all the stuff I have to do to get to do the trick. And that, if I'm not working, I darn well better be working on working, or else I won't be working. So the consistency, it's hard to keep going when things, especially when things aren't going well. I had to pivot during COVID. All of us did. I don't relish doing shows on Zoom, but I did it for 2 years. I still do things that way. So, and then the other C I'll put in carry on, and this is where I dropped the ball, is on care, particularly, not just care for your colleagues and your community and your family and all the people. I dropped the ball in self-care pretty badly. I let my health physically get away from me for a while. I let my mental health really get away from me, and I was kind of in a tumultuous maelstrom back during the last part of 2020, as you might imagine. I came close to making some really stupid decisions in December of 2020. And fortunately, by the grace of God and the righteous anger of people who love me, telling me to get my butt into therapy, I got help. And I only reveal that to you because I know that I would guess probably 10 or 20% of the people in this room, maybe more, especially if you're a solopreneur, have sat in your room in the dark and wondered how you were going to do it, and why, and whether you were even going to bother. I know I have, and I would bet money I'm not the only person in this room who has looked into that dark abyss and wondered whether you were going to take that step or not. I just know I'm not. It's just statistically impossible. The number one thing I took out of that time was I got very protective of my mental space. I refocused my faith. I became extremely intentional on the media that I consume and don't consume. I did not watch the debate. I know what I believe and I know how I'll proceed. I'm not putting up with the circus. I'm just not going to engage in that. I got other stuff to do. Bless your hearts if that's your thing. I'm not criticizing you. I have a boundary. Building, erecting, respecting boundaries on your time and attention. If you aren't doing so, start doing it. It's liberating. It's extremely liberating, and it's energizing. And do so immediately because it's much easier to do the thinking that's required when you're not in crisis. And I guarantee you've got friends in this room, people that you've made relationships with in WCBA and in your networking circles who can commiserate with you about how real that is and can be. And you don't have to be solopreneur, self-employed. You can be the sweetest, sweetheart, benefits package in corporate America and still feel that way. So if you have ever felt that way, don't wait until the very last moment like I did. Start seeking out some people to support you in that right now. I will close with one other illusion. And for this, I need, and then we're going to wrap this up, and we may have a couple of minutes, I don't know. Does anybody play cards? Anybody here play cards? Pretty good at cards? You're a good card player? You're a good card player? No? That you were just scratching, you're not volunteering. I was like, so would you just shuffle those up for me? I don't want to put you on the spot, so you don't feel like you have to do a fancy shuffle, but just feel free to shuffle those up. And if you will, take out some of those cards, just a little packet of them, and set them on the table, and I'll take the rest. Now you've shuffled them, you've chosen some that you would like to use. I'd like you to reach in there and take out one of those cards. I'm going to look away so that I'm not able to know what card you've chosen. Have you done that?
Yes, I'm just telling you,
Oh, here's two. My grandmother taught me the same thing. So I'll take the card that you've chosen. I'll take the card that you've chosen. Let the room see it. We'll just put it right back into the case. And the case, if I could ask you to stand up and come stand next to me, we'll put the case with the cards in the box. You'll just stand right there, son, Sam, and are you right-handed or left-handed? I'm going to ask you to hold this box in your right hand, thumb on that, hold it tight. Hold it tight. Nothing? I'm going to try to let you do this. I want you to think about your card. And as you do that, I want you to slowly relax into the positive, supportive thoughts of the people in this room. Hold it up high and slowly relax. Slowly relax. Think about your card. Relax your grip a little bit. Relax a little more. Don't look. Keep relaxing. I feel pretty good. What was your card? Take a look. Of spades. And I close with that simply to say, let the thoughts of others buoyance that you need to keep going. Before we close, I will say, I would invite all of you this Sunday afternoon, 3 o'clock, Red Light Cafe in Midtown. I will be the accompanist for a cabaret production of Mamma Mia, playing all your ABBA favorites at 3 o'clock. It's brought to you by an organization called Acting Under the Influence. And the basic idea is the cast, not the accompanist, the cast will have an adult beverage after every scene. So we'll see how that goes, but it'll be fun Sunday afternoon. Then September, the third Sunday in September, the show I produced at the Red Light Cafe myself, Atlanta Magic Night. I'll be performing again on the third Sunday evening in September. And then on September 30th in Marietta at the Strand, I'll be the MC for Aereo 2023. Tickets are on sale now. Just Google it, you'll find it, or talk to Chuck Birch. That is all I have. Please connect with me on LinkedIn. Thank you all very much.